So we are on Lamed Ches Amud Aleph, and we did the Mishnah last time, and we ended up with a cliffhanger about the separating of Truma. But first, we need to go to the Mishnah, find out where we came from, and then we'll know where we are going. And I don't fancy doing the whole Tosfos because it gets a bit technical towards the end, but we'll do the beginning bit, the question and two answers, and then we'll move on in the Gemara.
Before you do,
Yeah.
would you like some nuggets?
Go on in.
Speaking to Yishai the other day, I'll tell you what we were learning. Dull pair, he recited.
I know. Yeah.
I'm so annoyed. I can't even understand.
And he knows it better than you and me off by heart, doesn't he? I know.
Wow, it's just staggering.
I know. Yeah, I know. I don't know how he does it. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I know? Thank you very much. Thank you, Shikar. We all do what we can. Okay, so here's the Mishnah. The Mishnah is talking about somebody who deposits fruit with their friends. So we had me and David. David undertook to look after my apples. So that was in our favorite watering hole of an evening. The following morning, I'm off on holiday for 3 weeks, and I come on with my lorry. I tip it up. Yeah, I come into your garden. I tip up the lorry. The apples pour out in a rush. I just say out to the lorry window, stick them in the garage. See you in 3. And off I go. All right. Now, the question is, if they start going off, what should you do? What's your due diligence? And this is argued in the Mishnah. So the first opinion of the Mishnah says, do not touch them. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, sell them and keep the money, because it's like you're returning a lost object. So we have Rav Kahana and Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak who explain why, according to the Tanur Kamel, which is the first opinion of the Mishnah, you're not meant to touch them. So I got Colin here. I'm so sorry. Whoopsie daisy. I've got Colin. Oh, here he is. Jolly good. Just a second. Joining. Huh? Come on. No, that's me. Here he is.
Here we are.
Colin, here you go. Nice
I thought you'd forgotten about me.
I'm so sorry. It's this new Zoom. I'm all at
No problem. No problem.
You are Baruch Hashem. Okay, so I'll do the briefest of recaps. In your honor, Kanano, you deserve it. So
Thank you.
We've got the Mishnah saying that if I'm looking after David's apples and they start rotting in my garage, sorry, he's looking after my apples. So sorry, they start rotting in his garage. He mustn't touch them. That's the Tanur Kamel, the first opinion. Mishnah Rav Shimon Gamliel says he sells them, but we're not dealing with that for the while. We're dealing with the first opinion. Tanur Kamel says do not touch them. So we have an argument Rav Kahana and Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak as to why the Tanur Kamel says you mustn't touch them. You see them rotting in front of your eyes. They're developing these brown spots. They're getting insects and the little flies that you.
What about the stench in your place to boiling off? So
if it's causing you damage, then maybe I'm going to assume for argument's sake that's not happening.
But it's causing you bias.
Yeah. So if it's a quantifiable damage, then I'd be entitled perhaps to charge David for that. Yeah. If that disrupts my if a Beis Din can say that is a damage to me because it causes distress. You're right. I'm going to assume, for argument's sake, that's not the case. I want to keep it simple. Okay. But you are right. But I'm gonna not go. Okay, just to keep the figures simple. Okay, so Rav Kahana and Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak argue about the reasoning behind our Tanur Kamel, our first opinion of the Mishnah. Rav Kahana says the point is that I would rather have one measure of my own apples than 9 of somebody else's. So, let 90% of them rot, because I want my 10% of my own apples. That's Rav Kahana's view, which is quite extreme, and we're going to come back. Well, may you raise your eyebrows. And we're going to, you're right, and the Gemara is going to agree with you later, but not yet, okay? Yisakher. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak has another opinion, which is to say that we have a worry about long-range separate designation as teruma. We recall that, to put it very simply, when we have produce grown in the land of Israel, the rule is you have to separate various separations. And to keep it simple, I'm just going to talk about teruma and matzah. Teruma is a small amount that you give to a kohen. It's recommended by the rabbis to be 2%. Maaser is a tenth that you give to a Levi. Rav Levin is quitted. So the worry is that if I sell these apples, if David sells these apples because they're going off and he wants to forestall that loss, the problem is that if I say, well, I'm off in wherever it was, Barbados, living it up, oh my goodness, I've got these apples that I brought with me. I've got 100,000 in my mega yacht, all right, that I brought along with me, and I got 10,000 that I left with David. I think, you know what? There's a certain mathematical consonance here, because that is 10% of what I've got here. So what I'll do is I will designate that load in the garage as the Teruma and Maaser on my apples here. Fabulous. And then I can eat my Israeli grown apples in Barbados on the beach with a clear heart, and I'll enjoy them all the more. Because Baruch Hashem, I did a mitzvah with them. I separated Teruma and Maaser. How did I separate it? Not physically, because they're at home in Hazel Gardens in David's garage. But what I did was I designated them from the beach in Barbados. Sorry? Well, hold on. We can't start doing it. You're right. We can't start doing it. So the worry, Rav used to say, imagine what would happen if David had actually sold the apples. I would be separated, designating as Truma Maaser, something which is not mine. I can't do that. So it turns out that the apples that I'm eating on the beach there haven't had the Truma Maaser separated from them. And if I make it into cider and send it off to the locals, imagine they'll all be eating, drinking cider from apples that haven't had Truma Maaser. That is a grievous sin. You can't eat tevel. Tevel is the produce before Truma Maaser is separated. You can't do that. It's really bad. So if David sells the apples without my knowledge, and then I designated Truma Maaser, not realizing he sold them, that'd be awful. So I'm not to know, but the problem is that
you're not going to pick up the phone and say, by the way, just to make sure you haven't sold any apples.
No, of course not. I'm having a nice time on the beach.
You're not guilty of anything.
But in practice, I'm eating tevel.
Yeah, but you don't know.
Rabbi,
You're doing it. You're right. But I'm not. But in practice, I'm not. It's really bad.
How are you to know?
Well, so the rabbis want to avoid this situation rising in the first place. You're right. It's not with malice or forethought, but it's still not brilliant. So the rabbis say, easy solution, David may not sell the apples. Come hell or high water, he cannot sell them.
Rabbi,
they're always in the garage. And when we say, yes.
What's the consequence?
I'm drinking a dog and duck. I'm not about Truma Maaser when a jukebox is blaring and the strobe lights are going. I'm just sitting in the dog and duck saying, look out to my apples. You're right, but I can't get with that. Sorry, Adam, you were saying.
Rabbi, what's the consequence if you do sell it and you're not supposed to?
It's a grievous sin. Torah talks about it.
Okay.
I'm not sure what exactly I'm saying, but
that is going straight to the core of the matter, obviously.
Very good.
Hey, and we're off.
Okay, right. So you're right. And I did it without malice before, but it's still not good. And the rabbis want to preempt this possibility.
But you would have never done that if you knew that. And as you don't know it, why have you got any guilt on your part?
I mean, even if it's the fact on the ground, I am eating tevel, and that's not good. So the rabbis say we can stop this by saying to David, you may not sell them. And I know when I offload the apples, I ought to know, when I offload the apples on David's lawn, I meant to know that he may not sell them under any circumstances. Yes.
It may be more easily explained if I use a legal term.
Okay.
An absolute offence. And an absolute offence like driving without insurance doesn't require any legal benefit. If you've done it, you've done it.
Yes.
That's the end of the story.
That's exactly it. Yes. Thank you. So, for example, if I eat non-kosher food because the person manufacturing the food made a mistake, I'm not to know. I relied on a reliable Herscher. But if they put, a bottle of milk in with the chomet and I ate it without realizing, I've still eaten non-kosher food.
Not if it was porridge.
No, but milky milk, cow milk. Yeah.
But that's what Dino explained to us. If you go to a restaurant or another tutor, always remember this very clearly, and something has gone wrong with the preparation of food, it's the dine-in who are responsible, not you, he said. When they go upstairs, the dine-in will be.
It's on them,
severely.
but I've still sort of tainted myself with this non-kosher food.
But the same problem with the butchers. If the butchers found him selling trade,
Yeah.
then the people who bought it, you have to say things okay.
Yes, in Monsi, there was a terrible scandal
Yes.
a few years back, and where this butcher had been fraudulently passing off non-kosher meat to kosher, and there was a communal fast day.
Yes.
And people had to cash all their kelim, and they fasted for a day because of this grievous thing that they all done.
Yeah.
Your point, it wasn't their fault. You're right, but still, it's not. It's a,
There's no guilt on it, it's a catering.
but it's still done harm to me spiritually because I've eaten non-kosher food.
But you didn't know you were.
I still ate it.
Yeah,
Still
you're
not.
not guilty of anything.
But it's still not good.
You thought, this won't make any difference.
If they told
You're
you
right.
beforehand,
You're right.
That's
Of course I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I say, but you didn't know. You went
Right.
there.
But it's still a harmful thing. It's like not eating, God forbid, eating poison by accident.
It's your intention, surely. You had no
Not
intention.
entirely, no. No, that's not all of it. No. So to take this a stage further, the Kloisenberg Rebbe, an extraordinarily holy man, with Nebuch, he was in Auschwitz with his pupils, and he said, as they were going in there, he said to them, "You can all eat whatever they give you because it's a life-threatening situation." But he didn't. He only ate kosher food,
Wow.
and it was extraordinary. He would sometimes go for days without eating. He thought, that's what he did. So he found an old tin can, and he would boil potato. He would steal some, he would purloin or acquire some bits of firewood, and boil up potatoes in this tin can. He wouldn't eat the camp food because it was a knife. It was a disgusting thing, and he felt it was inappropriate. He thought, I managed, and he had that faith, and he managed. He came through. He found it the lanyard.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Just adding to it, in World War II, the chief rabbi did a dispensation for all of the Jewish troops who were fighting for the UK that they could eat the food that they were given because they were fighting in the war.
Yeah, exactly. And it's of that ilk, but still, if you do that, it's still not wonderful. And this case is a bit worse because it's not a life-threatening situation. I'm on the beach in Barbados. I'm sunning myself. Based on what Reverend Evans said, I could have made that call. I could have picked up my phone and said, by the way, I'm about to traumatize it, just to be sure. If it would have cost me £1 million to eat that tevel, I would have made that call. I can't be bothered. I'm on the beach. I'm in a final time beach novel, sun oil, pina colada, the sea, the palm tree. I'm good. I just didn't bother.
Right into Berry Lane on a Friday.
I'll see you down there, Colin.
Absolutely.
We'll play some deck quotes together on my boat, on my yacht.
Definitely. Love it.
When you talk about Mazzoni spread, you have a sandwich. So lots of people frown upon this.
I'm frowning right now.
I personally, if somebody says to me it's Mazzonos, I will wash and bench. Right. I will wash and bench even if it's a Mazzonos roll.
If you're over here, I would shake your hand.
Because it's a meal.
Yes. If you make a meal out of Mazzonos, it counts as hamaitzi.
Honestly, about the base in doing the Zono spread, I think it's a terrible thing, and we should do something about it.
Well, I tell you when it works. It works, for example, if you've been to some sort of, I don't know, let's say a bris or whatever, and they have these tiny little nibbles on the table, and you would like to have a little whatever it is.
Sometimes bridge rolls, they say it's Mazzoni.
Yeah. So I can have 1 or 2 bridge rolls, fine. But you're right. If I'm making a meal out of it, then it should be mighty. Likewise, if I have a glorious thought, if I had a whole packet of chocolate digestives, as you do, In Barbados, that's what I eat every morning, noon, and night. So if I would wash, see how mates and do full benching afterwards. And if I had mates with me, we'd do zimun.
On biscuits.
Yes, if you have 3 or
And
4.
you're using that as a meal.
Yes,
Right.
if you have 3 or 4 kibbutzims worth, which is about a couple of berekas. Yes. So the fact and truth be told, the mazonos nomenclature is actually correct, because the point is when you make a meal out of mazonos, it's also hamaitzi. You're right.
Following your point about the nibbles on the table,
Yeah.
I have been guilty of this myself, so I can say it. You have one, and then you talk to the uncle, and you have another one, and you talk to the client, and you have a third one. All you know, you're eating the equivalent of a meal.
I know.
So that's one to be on the
So
safe side.
if you go to a sink and you have fridge loads, would you wash?
Depends how many I'm having.
Well, let's say you're going to have
I think
4 or
it's
5.
Yeah, then you wash. Yeah. I've done it myself.
No, you don't need to. It's
No.
Mazonos.
For when you're eating a lot of food, then that's
Read the World War II business.
Yeah.
In school, the kids were still to his grandparents about the old days. And one of the kids interviewed the grandparents, and he was a merchant navy in the convoys in the north of Atlantic. And the quote from him was, even Chief Rabbi would have had problems keeping kosher on the ship.
Yeah, you had to do what you had to do. And we have a member of our shul who's on those Arctic convoys.
Yeah.
And what's in Lionel Lasson, and very proud of it. He's decorated by the British and Russian states countries for his service. Yeah, and good to know. But you're right. Halakha, it's absolutely fine. But as I say, this is worse. This is on the beach, on my lounger. I got my phone right here. I could have made that call. I chose not to. I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah,
Not
on
brilliant.
the beach, you were eating golden delicious.
Whatever it may be, yeah, it's actually powdery white sand, but there we are. But yes, as I get gradually golden brown in the sun, you're right. I don't care. I just want to do this.
Isn't it laziness when somebody says you don't need to bench the Mazonos or whatever? You just want to escape benching, which again is you're not
Yeah,
escaping filling yourself.
Yeah. People say, I don't want to wash the bench. That's what they say. Yeah. Okay, we must get back to our subject. All right, okay, so fine. So, so the rabbis say, because I might designate the apples in David's garage as Truma Masa, and that's if they've been sold, the rabbi said David may not sell them. That's the deal. Now then, let's look at Tosfos. Tosfos said, I don't get it. We finished with this last week. Tosfos says, it's the left-hand side of the page, the left-hand margin. You see right at the top there, it says Shema in big letters. Shema Asan Truma Masa Makom. So that's where we are. And then there's a dot, and then it says Hitchor Rabbeinu Tam. So here's Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam asks the question: will Chaverim, that is, a good guys who are sort of one of the guys, they're proper observant Jews, will they separate Truma when they're not taking it from all the rest of the tevel that's there? Because the standard model of separating Truma Masa is you got all of it there in your granary, you take the Truma Masa and you designate it as such within that heap. That's min hamukah, from that which is surrounded by everything else. Not when the designated Truma Masa is in one place and the rest of it is in another. And that's what we're talking about here. So why do we have to stop David selling the apples when they're rotting? Are you going to suspect me of separating Truma Masa by designating the stuff in your guides while I'm hundreds of miles away in Barbados? Chas v'shalom, says Tosfos. Would a chaver do such a thing? Of course not. So, and if it's not a realistic prospect, because no self-respecting Jew would do that, how can the rabbis be worried about this? What's Ramach and Bayis saying? Sorry?
It's happened in the past.
Yeah, but still it shouldn't. We should. Right, but we shouldn't assume such a
If he
process.
wants to sell them because the smell is foul and his
Yeah.
wife's given him the pattern right,
Yeah.
then in order to make sure you're not guilty of anything, he should phone you to tell you he sold them.
But he didn't. Or the worry is that he won't. We're all busy people getting on with
What
their
if
life.
he did that and he keep the money for you?
A different matter if I give permission, but he didn't. That's the problem. The worry is that he won't. It's again.
So then he's guilty and you're guilty.
No, well,
So it's to say, I just want to make sure that the apples.
But it's dog and duck. People are sloppy. So the rabbis have to deal with these people who are, reasonably well-meaning, but they're not that punctilious. They're not going to think through every eventuality.
I think in the
Rose and crown.
no, I don't. I think in the straight and upright.
Oh, that's
The new one.
a Talmid Chachamim guy. But we're not dealing. We got to
The
deal.
answer is actually very simple. David would never spend the money on an international phone call to a mobile. So that's why he's got the phone. I'm not saying that.
Who knows? Who knows? But we have to deal with people who are sloppy. And we were making preventative legislation to stop something. That's the mindset. Okay, so Tosfos says, I'll prove it to you. Second line down, towards the end of the line, because I want to kind of get over to the third line. Regarding Reb Meir, he ate a leaf of greenery. And there's a question about whether the Truma Masa is separated from it. And it comes out in the conversation that you don't separate Truma and Masa if the food you're designated as Truma Masa is not with the rest of the produce. You don't. You're not allowed to. So how can we be worried here that this person in Barbados will be designating the apples in Davy's Garage hundreds of miles away as Truma Masa on that fruit? You can't do that. It's not allowed. So why is that a reasonable suspicion that should stop David from selling the apples? That is Tosfos' question. So Tosfos says, I got two answers for you. Not just one, I'll give you two. So Tosfos answers, first of all, you're wrong. Rabbeinu Tam answers, the bottom of you see the four wide lines at the beginning of Tosfos, the last wide line, second word in. For Rabbeinu Tam, the Hacha Gabi Pikodin here, because it's stuff that's been deposited, because David is looking after it for me. We're going to use any excuse to stop David touching them. When it's somebody else's thing, you naturally take much more precautions than you would with your own. If you're gonna let's say you get out of your car and your other car is right there, you open the car door, how careful will you be not to bash your car? A bit. If it's somebody else's car, oh my goodness, it's somebody else's car, I better be really, really careful. It's like that. And Halacha says this, and says, it's one thing for David to sell his own produce, but to sell somebody else's? No. You have to take due care. So regarding David selling my produce in his garage, David has to be extra careful. And we worry that there could be any reason why he mustn't.
It's going to be worthless very shortly. Totally worthless.
Why so?
Because it's unusable now. It's rotten now. It's going to be rotten soon. There will be no value whatsoever.
It's too bad. You can't say it's such a rahman, because if he sells it and then I designated Truma Masa, Achem Vei.
It's also a busher.
What are we to do? What are we to do?
So should have David not said to you, what do I do if it's not?
Of course he should have, you're right, but he didn't.
Can't you assume what he would have
Yes,
said?
I'm sorry?
Can't you assume what he should have said?
No.
Should have you not said, if it
Yes, I
goes
should. Yes,
Rubbish.
no,
And you should have
nothing.
said, in case it goes off.
Yes,
I give you permission.
yes, but I didn't, because I'm an idiot and we're drunk.
So you're both wrong.
Yes,
Yeah.
So who's guilty of anything?
everybody. But what can the rabbis have to deal with these people?
So they bring you both to base and say you're guilty. You're
It's
guilty.
too late. Because the rabbi has to, it's all very well, everybody suing everybody else, but we've got to deal with the situation up front and say, what are we going to do? This is the best they can come up with. It's pretty brutal, but it works. And if I know the halacha, you'll see there's more to this coming down the line. You'll see there's a lot more to this. Let's hold off for now, because
Well,
Rabbi.
you can't say you've made the right mince pie of this. can you?
It's all in apple pie order. Rabbi Baba Chana is gonna give us a different slant on this shortly. But let's deal with Tosfos for now. Let's take on the turn. Okay, so the worry is Chayshinon Shema be'erev Shabbos Toram Shalom and Amuchav Deshori. So the worry is that why will we stop David selling the apples? Basically, because we want to. We want to do everything we can to have people's deposited objects preserved. And we'll use any excuse to create a sort of atmosphere in law that means when you're looking at something, leave it alone. Do not touch it. So much so that we will invoke this remote suspicion about Truma Masa to me that nobody can ever touch it. You'll say that the guy will never separate it because it's not minamukaf and is not allowed to separate it at distance. You're wrong, says Tosus, because there is a scenario where it is allowed to separate Truma Masa at a distance. What, pray tell, is that example? I'll tell you, says Tosus. It's when it's Friday afternoon, that blessed time of the week. Thank you very much. So I remember Diane Gelly once said to me that when people are considering becoming Jewish, their Jewish friends like to show them a Friday night. The table's laid and the lovely food and everybody gathered around. It's all so lovely. He says, show them a Friday afternoon. I mean, I don't know about your home, but my home, everybody goes crazy. We used to have this thing many years ago where when my daughters were at home and with their long hair, they would have showers Friday afternoon. And our smoke alarm had this quaint habit of being set off by steam. So they would open the bathroom door to, having had a healthy shower, and their hair was all, washed up, and there's gouts of steam coming out of the shower. It was set off the smoke alarm on Friday afternoon, like we had nothing else to do. So we're busy flapping our towels underneath the smoke alarm, as you do. So Friday afternoon is a crazy time, and the rabbis introduced a leniency for separating Truma Masa. They know what it's like, and they say Friday afternoon. You suddenly, oh my goodness, I've not separated Truma Masa for this fruit and veg, and it's the bit I need to separate is over there, and I'm over here. What we're going to do? The rabbi said, it's fine. Forget Minam Mukaf, just do it. So, because the rabbis wanted to ensure that nobody ever sells produce they're looking after, they will say, aha, maybe he designated it as Truma Masa on Friday afternoon just before Shabbos when it's allowed. And that way we will create this inviolate scenario where deposits must never be sold. You'll say he can't designate to us. Yeah, he could. Only Friday afternoon. Yeah, but we'll use the Friday afternoon scenario to say David can never ever sell it. Because we want to create this inviolate sort of ambiance, this violent vibe around the stuff that Dave's looking after.
But that doesn't help if it's Wednesday.
Well, no. Even if it's Wednesday now, maybe I sold it last Friday. Maybe I designated Truma Masa last Friday. Sorry.
And when you tell yourself that you might, maybe he did it last Friday.
Exactly. That's exactly what you say. That's what the rabbis say too. Yes. That's it. So David's always worried after the first Friday, obviously, that maybe he'll sell, or even before the first Friday, maybe he will sell it. Maybe I will designate Truma Masa this Friday, or maybe after Shabbos, I designated Truma Masa last Friday, so that's why I can't do it. Alternatively, says Tosus, I'll give you a second answer. A second worry that we will invoke to ensure that David never touches it. We don't want David having a scenario where he can start flogging off the apples, because that way madness lies. The rabbis will pull every halachic stop out to prevent David from ever selling these apples, just so that Shomrim generally look after their charge.
It's not really a shomer,
It's still a shomer. I don't care. He's still a shomer. He's just going to look after him.
Looking after him means that if they are going to rot and you sell them.
No, he can't do that. The rabbis say he can't.
It was a Friday. I remember.
Yeah, but for Shabbos you can sell them for apple compote.
No, not even that. They can't touch them. So, what?
Would this guy have liability? Would he have a cause to bring a case against the guy in Barbados? What he's done with the apples?
No, because they're my apples. No, it's not none of his business what happened to my apples.
If he was a kind person, he doesn't look
See, that's my trouble. It's
and
kind.
look at the house. It stinks of
Then if I damage his house, you're right. But I'm assuming that's not the case. I'm assuming it's a lead-lined garage, so it's all going to be confined within. And I'll clean it out when I get home. It's all fine. Okay, so that's one answer, that maybe I did it Friday afternoon. Alternatively, Tosa says, you know what? There are worse things than separating Truma Masa, not Mina Mukaf.
So it's not so terrible.
Exactly. I was just going to say, it is not so terrible. Yes, you got it. Yes. So Tosa says, Inami, so 1, 2, third narrow line down in Tosa. Inami, Kidamrina Pepahon Ma'avin, same Perikoma Arvin in Erovin, fourth narrow line down in Tosa. Nichale la Chava de li Avidi Surozuta, the Haine Shalom in a Mukaf. It's better for a from guy. I'm off in Barbados. I got all these apples. That's what I got to eat. That's it. I'm subsisting on apples for 3 weeks. I can't eat the food that is not kosher. So I got my apples for 3 weeks. I'm sitting on the beach with all my apples around. I think, I'll have an apple. Yeah, oh my goodness, wait a minute. I'm not separated from a masa. But wait a minute, I got the stuff in the garage. So I got a choice now. Either I can use the stuff in David's garage and designate that as Truma Masa from a distance, which isn't brilliant. Or what's my alternative?
Friday.
And forget that for a minute. Forget that. What's the alternative? What's the other thing I could do? No, because then I can't eat it. It's not mine. And if I buy it back from him, it's still my problem. It's still mine.
Does it make it from ones you got there?
And I need it all. What else? If I don't designate that Truma, I'm just going to eat it as tevel, and that's terrible. So I got a choice. Either I do a not brilliant separation of Truma Masa because it's not Minamukov, it's not all in one place, or I just eat it, which is really, really bad. So the rabbi say, so the Chava will say, you know what? It's at the end of the day, it's not a brilliant way of doing it. I'm still doing it. It's still Truma Masa separated. It's not Minamukov. I'll live. It's fine. It's not so terrible. So here's the other way. Even without the Friday afternoon leniency, the rabbis were worried that the Chava, this upright guy who has gone out to Barbados with his apples, might designate the stuff in David's garage as Truma Masa just because that is the lesser of two evils. The other one would be to eat the apples without saving Truma Masa, which is really bad. So there's two suspicions that the rabbis, with respect to them, cooked up, no pun intended, in order to create a prohibition against David selling the apple. Because the rabbis did not want to have David selling the apple. Because if you like in one scenario, before you know it'll be in another scenario, then he'll take commission, or he'll skim a bit off, or he'll say, you know what, maybe it's really mine, or he'll sell it and deny having ever owned it, and or have looked after it, and all sorts of trouble. So the rabbi said, no, we will create a suspicion. Either the Chava will separate it Friday afternoon, or the Chava will separate it or designate it anyway, because separating Shalom and Mukaf is not so terrible. And that way, because we have that word that he might do that, we prevent David from selling the apples altogether. And that is the best thing to do. We don't want David selling the apples, because once you're out, in any case, that way matters less. We're not doing that. That is Tosa's answers.
But if he has sold it, he said he can use the Friday afternoon.
If it's not the apples, I'm designating the Truma Masa, something which is not there. So I'm not actually doing Truma Masa, I'm eating tevel. That's bad. We can't have that. So better, David is forbidden to sell the apples, and that way we know they're there. So if I start, having my
what is he guilty of if because of the stench and someone buys that isn't that? I've got to sell them.
So if that were what was going on, what David should do in that case is hire a warehouse, put the apples in that warehouse, and when I come back, he can charge me for that. But he can't sell them, because for all the rabbi said, for all I know,
did you know how much he's charging for 200 deliveries?
It's too bad. That's on me. If I didn't make adequate provision for looking after my apples, then I got to pay for it when I come back. You're right. If it should come to that, and yes, he can sue me for damages to his home if he needs fumigating or whatever. Yes, that's all fine. Again, I'm assuming that's not the case. Just to keep it simple, but the basic point is the rabbis wanted to create a situation where in halacha where you don't sell something you're looking after. We don't want that happening unless we absolutely have to, because it causes trouble. So
the whole thing usually is Friday afternoon.
Yes, yes, it is.
Basically,
Yeah, but that's what Tosa
it's-
says.
yeah.
Gabi Picodon told him when it comes to something you're looking after, the rabbis will invoke a small suspicion, a small doubt, a small concern. They will amplify that on purpose to stop people selling things they're looking after. Because once you're like in one case, you know what it's like. People in another case, oh, I've got this Mona Lisa to look at. You know what? I'll flog it off, make 50 quid. I'll pay it back. Honest. I'll say something happened. Once you allow it, it's trouble. So I say, no, you can't say, and we'll create a worry to stop people selling it.
Yeah, if you are living in town, which is a good way away from the shrine, you flog the produce and then take the money there,
Right.
right? So you're allowed to change.
Yeah, that's your own stuff.
Right,
You're right.
okay,
So
well,
we're not worried that you're going to steal it. But this is David looking after my stuff.
Yeah.
Different scenario. David's got
Thank you.
he's got 10,000 apples worth, let's say, £5,000 in his garage. The prospect to sell them off for £85,000, that's quite a nice idea.
yeah, the week is worth nothing.
That's on me. The rabbis would say, I'd rather lose it altogether. And you know what? If I didn't do my due diligence because I was sitting down and half drunk, that is on me. The rabbis will say, well, that's fine. I got to be careful.
So you're punishing this guy for not doing due diligence when you're in the club.
Not punishing him, punishing me.
No, but you should have checked that the apples you were going to
But he's done nothing wrong. If he doesn't touch them, the Mishnah says, the Mishnah says, Lo yigwan, do not touch them. That's fine. He's done nothing wrong. He has no consequences. I have the consequences because I gave him apples to look after in an irresponsible way. It's like leaving my box of eggs with somebody for a year. Madness, you know. Of course, that's a stupid. So if I behave in a stupid way, the consequence will be on me. Yeah. Now then, so that is what Tosa says. Just a second. Let's now go back to the Gemara. It's going to be fun. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Macy Bay of this. That was the easy bit. Now it starts getting complicated. Macy Bay. So the Gemara challenges what we've just learned.
Yeah.
So we are now. You see, it says Gemara in big letters. You got Mishnah, Masnisin and Gemara in big letters further up in the Gemara. Then from where it says Gemara Gimel Mem in big letters, going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. The end of the line. Mesive, a question was an objection was raised. We've got a brisa which says, Hamafkid Peres Eitzel Chaver, if somebody deposits fruit with his friend, Harizel lo yiga bahem, he may not touch them. Lefichach, therefore, Balabayis Oisa Oison Truma Amas Amokamacha. Therefore, the owner can make them into truma masa for fruit that he's got elsewhere. That's odd. Talk about the cart before the